Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today I'm taking a look at Arcade Room Simulator 2026 for the PlayStation 5. Now this came out a couple of weeks ago. It was reasonably priced. I seem to remember it being about $11.99, something like that, so it wasn't an expensive game. But initially I wasn't that interested because I think it's fair to say I've been scarred a few times this year with some of these simulator games that I've bought that have turned out to be really quite bad. So I wanted to kind of wait and, see a couple of videos on it on YouTube, that kind of stuff, and then eventually I got it. Now, what is this? Well, it is exactly what it sounds like. You are in charge of your own arcade centre, I suppose. You've got it looks like a converted warehouse. You've got a little bit of money to start, and the idea is that you buy some arcade machines, pop them down, customers come in, have a great time, earn you some money. But also as well, there is other things that you can add into this arcade. There is like snacks that you can buy. So you've got to buy the furniture, the shelving. Then there's a load of different snacks to buy, like chocolate bars and peanuts and candy floss and a whole array of different snacks to buy, essentially. And then once you've bought them, you've got to price them up on the shelf, make yourself a bit of profit. And there's other things as well then that you can purchase, like key rings, like plushies, so on and so forth. So, you've got to kind of mix it up a little bit for your customer base, so they've got other things to kind of do while they get there. So they can, buy themselves a snack, a treat, a key ring, a toy, that kind of stuff. There's other things you can buy as well, like furniture, like couches and chairs and tables, or even decorations like neon signs and pictures that you can hang up to make the place look a little bit more interesting. And then, as you earn money, you've got to kind of keep your shelves restocked, and then once you earn enough money, you buy more arcade machines, pop them down, as well as more expensive items to sell, and then you can hire staff to basically do the restocking if you want, so that when you buy items, as they usually are in these simulator games, they're kind of dumped outside unceremoniously, and then the restockers, the staff members that you've hired, will grab them, bring them in, and restock your shelves. But you can also hire people to work on the cash registers. Now, there are different levels of staff members for you to hire. The better the staff member, the more you have to pay them an hour. And at the end of each kind of working day, which is like 10 o'clock at night, I believe, with this one, the staff members, when they leave, that's when you pay them, essentially. So you've got to kind of make sure you've got enough money to pay them at the end of each day, which isn't usually a problem. The better staff members, like I say, they will. You can work at the cash register if you want. You can do the restocking if you want. But if you've got someone working on the cash register, you want someone who's going to be pretty fast on the cash register, because the queues will line up pretty. The queues will get pretty big fairly quickly. So you want them to kind of serve them really, really quite fast, but it's going to cost you more money to pay them. You can then even open more cash registers around the place and staff them up as well. So it kind of splits it up, and you're earning your money even quicker then. So it's a balancing exercise, really, this game. You've got to keep your shelves restocked with snacks, goodies, plushies, key rings, all that kind of stuff, as well as stocking it with a whole array of different arcade machines. But there's also... you can extend, as you usually can in these like supermarket shopping type simulator games. You can extend the premises here, but what's different about this one is when you buy an extension, it's like one of the booths like opens up in your warehouse, and it kind of becomes like an area where you can kind of put the arcade machines, make it kind of stand out sort of thing. They've got their own little booths for different arcade machines. And then the more you expand, the more they will open up. As you can see there, the shutters, they kind of open up next to each other when you expand, and then you can spread out into your arcade machines, that kind of stuff. All sounds great. Now, in theory, it is. There are some fun mechanics here. I think for the price, I think the graphics are of a good standard. I've not really had any massive issues in regards to crashes or bugs or freezes or anything like that. The biggest problem with this game by far, and it gets to be quite a frustration, is the customers, for the most part, 80% of the people that come in are only interested in buying things from the shelves. They don't play the arcade machines. They seem too early on. And then the more you expand, the more you put on the shelves, the less they go on their arcade machines. And it's even worse when you open the booths. As you can see here, like the booth is opening right there. It gets worse once you open them and you put the arcade machines in there. They just don't go in there. And they don't play the arcade machines. It really does break the immersion quite dramatically. Makes it all look very nice and tidy. You put in all your arcade machines nice and tidy in the game zones or whatever you want to call them. But the only thing the customers are interested in is the stock on your shelves. So it kind of defeats the purpose of this calling itself an arcade room simulator. You've got loads of arcade machines. They all make the right noises. They're all pretty cool. You can't play any of them, just to let you know that, guys. You can't play the games, which that would have been a really nice touch. But also at the same time, the customers, they come in and, they just don't bother with the machines. They don't go in there. I mean, some of these shelves, you can buy like shelves for like putting the plushies on, for example. And if you stock anything underneath the top area of the shelf, they don't buy them. It's just the top area of the shelf that they buy from, which doesn't happen on any of the other shelves that I've noticed in the game. It's just that plushy one. So again, that's a frustration. I ended up selling the plushie shelf because it just wasn't being used properly, and then I just kind of put my plushies on the normal shelves with the snacks and the drinks and that kind of stuff. So I mean, it has its issues. I think if it got an update, so it looked like, I mean, you've got this massive warehouse, and nobody. Even if you spread out all around the warehouse and jam-packed it full of arcade machines, nobody, I don't think, would use them. I mean, I've put about 12 hours into this, and I haven't managed to do that yet in regards to, packing out the place. In regards to arcade machines scattered everywhere and, the different booths opening up. I haven't done it yet. But it would, be very frustrating if you put in like 25 hours into this game and manage to kind of unlock all the booths, get everything you can, and then scatter everything around the warehouse, making it look really cool and fantastic with neon signs and pictures and couches and making it look really cool. When all they do, the customers, when they come in, is buy stuff off your shelves and don't bother with the arcade machines. It's definitely a frustration, and it's a disappointment when you're kind of taking the effort to kind of decorate and put arcade machines down and nobody's interested in using them. They just want to come in and buy candy bars, chocolate bars and popcorn and candy floss, that kind of stuff. Which is, you can still make money from that, and quite a lot of it, because they buy loads of them. But at the end of the day, the title of the game is Arcade Room Simulator. And it is just that in name, really, because they just don't really play the arcade machines for the most part. So that's the major disappointment here with this game. Everything else, I think, is on point, and I think if it wasn't for that, I would definitely be scoring this one a little bit higher. But because of that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The basics are here for a really fun simulator game. It just needs a little bit of TLC. So thanks for joining me for this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it useful. I'll see you on the next one.